All right. Welcome to the only correct tier list for Major League Baseball teams going into 2024. Okay? Doing no research beforehand, not even a little bit. I'm just going off of what I know and who I think that these teams are going to sign and how good they're going to be in the future. But this is how good I think the teams are going to be going into 2024. Yankees? Yankees are in a rough spot. They got an aging roster. Giancarlo Stanton is kind of fucking ass these days, even though he's getting paid so much. Judge is still amazing. Catching situation's a little bit rough. Rotation, other than Garrett Cole, everyone thought that rotation was gonna be locked down with fucking when they got Rodon, Frankie Montas, and like that whole rotation just looked really good. But right now, it's pretty much just Garrett Cole. Everyone really took a step back, or they were really hurt. I think they'll be better next year. Obviously, this year they were like barely over 500. I think they'll be better. I'm gonna put Yankees in B for right now. And do I think they're gonna win the division? No, I don't. I don't think they are. Mariners. Mariners are always a weird team to think about because you always think about them never ever ever making the playoffs, but they did a couple years ago for the first time since 2001. They've got a decent team. Luis Castillo is the ace of the rotation. That's really good ace to have. Their lineup is not bad. J.P. Crawford had a really good year last year. Julio Rodriguez is obviously a top player in the league. You know, like they're not horrible. Like Cal Raleigh, he's nasty too. They've got a good team. I think, like, are they going to make the playoffs? I don't know. I think they might be able to. So I'm going to put them. You know what? Let's change these category names. Instead of B, let's do wild card. A, we're gonna do well, we could do division winners. Yeah, let's do division winners. Let's make it fun. Division winners. S, we're gonna do World Series contenders. Okay, then below C, we're gonna have competitive. I didn't spell that right. There. And the last one, we're gonna have trash. I think the Yankees and the Mariners could sneak into a wild card. I don't think either of those teams are gonna win the division. So, Rays. Rays are always good every year, even though no one watches them play. They're always good. Doesn't matter what lineup they're gonna have out there. They're gonna be amazing. Uh, Glass now is obviously really good when he's on. Their rotation's always gonna be good, no matter who they put in there. Like when they signed Zach Eflin last year, everyone was like, "Yep, they're gonna fix him." And then what happened? He was amazing. He was amazing. He was great. Bullpen's always going to be nasty. Lineup, you're going to get production from guys you never even thought would be good for other teams, like Isaac Paredes. He had a really good year. I think it's definitely very possible they could win the division. So let me think real hard in my head. Do I think they're going to win the division? It's them or the Orioles, obviously. I don't think the Yankees or the Red Sox are going to take that spot from them. I don't think the Blue Jays have what it takes either. I think the Rays. Let's put them in the wild card. And since these three teams are in the wild card, obviously we're gonna have to switch this up a little bit. A little bit. I might bring the Mariners down to competitive. Let's do it like that. They're good. Are they better than the Yankees? I mean they were last year. Next year though, I don't think so. Yankees obviously have the money to get some free agents that are gonna help them out. A full year of Carlos Rodon being healthy be something that'd be good. How long is he hurt for? I don't know, actually. I know he came back a little bit at the end of the year. I'm not sure if he's still hurt or not. Injuries is not something I always have in my mind. Blue Jays, they made the wild card this year. They didn't win a single playoff game. They're still a good team. A lot of those players aren't as good as people thought they were going to be, though. Like, I know Brios took a little bit of a step forward after being god-awful his first year or two with the Blue Jays. Gosman's obviously really good. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is serviceable at first base. Everyone thought he was going to be a superstar, but he's still good. Bo Bichette is great. George Springer, he's aging, but he's still decent. Bullpen is fine. Tim Mesa's pretty good. Jordan Romano's pretty good. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be competitive. We'll give it some thought once we start filling these out. Marlins, obviously they made the wild card last year. They didn't feel like they belonged there really, but that's kind of, it's kind of rough to say that because, they made it at the end of the day. You could argue that some teams that didn't make it were better than they were. Could be right place, right time, but obviously, it's not how it happened. Their rotation's always been good. And even with Sandy Alcantara having like such an off year last year after winning the Cy Young the year before, I mean, with him back and like doing what he does, and like they can get some more bats in that lineup. Like obviously that trade for Jake Burger, that was huge for them because he was great. I think they can be competitive. I do. I think they can maybe grab a wild card, but for right now, I'm going to think they're going to be competitive. The Cardinals, talk about a disappointment because they were fucking horrible and everyone thought they were going to run away with the division pretty much as long as the Brewers didn't put up that much of a fight. They were bad. The rotation is horrible. I think their number one guy right now is Steven Matz. I know they signed Lance Lynn either yesterday or the day before. That's not going to help them. He was god awful. I don't think they have what it takes pitching wise to really make it that far. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, they're always going to be good. Willis Contreras can still hit pretty well. Dylan Carlson, Jordan Walker, they're all good players. I don't think they're going to be that competitive, though. I think their rotation's going to still be pretty bad, so I'm going to go trash. I don't think they get any good starters that are actually going to eat up innings in a way that actually makes them competitive in that division. The NL Central, some teams are really starting to come up, like the Cubs and the Reds and the Brewers. While they're still taking a step down, they're still a good team. I don't think the Cardinals are just going to get worse. I think that's what's going to happen. Astros. Yeah, I think you just got to put them in the World Series contenders. You just have to because of what they've done year after year. Their team is still good. They're always going to be able to develop pitching, and their lineup is always going to be amazing. I think, yeah, definitely World Series contender. I don't think you could really argue that. Even though they were beat out by the Rangers last year, it still felt like Houston was going to win that series the whole way until they didn't. That's the tough part for the Astros, but obviously the Astros, they're always going to be competitive. They're always going to be in there for the World Series, and I think they're going to continue that. Braves, another easy one, World Series contenders. That team is disgusting. Matt Olson, Austin Riley. The rotation's really good too. Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzy Albies. Spencer Strider is leading that rotation. He's really good. Bullpen, they're going to figure it out there. I know they just signed, what was that guy's name? Reynaldo Lopez. They gave him a 3-year deal. I really like that signing. He's got really good stuff. They said they might have him start some games too. I like that too because he, has had 2 full seasons of starting games. I think he's going to be a good piece of that team. A team that's already probably the best team in the league. So definitely World Series contenders. Definitely. Orioles. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to win the AL East. They had a huge year this year, and they won 100 games or 101, whatever it was. Took a huge step forward after taking a step forward the year before and finishing over 500. They're very young. They've got a lot of great guys on that squad. I don't think they're going to slow down. I think they're going to slow down a little bit, maybe like 90-plus wins. I still think they're going to win the division. Maybe they'll finally get a postseason win out of this because obviously we saw them get dominated by the Rangers. I think they're going to win the division, though. I think they, it might not even be that close. I mean, it's a good division, but Orioles, I think, are going to be the better team. Ooh, the Cleveland Guardians. Okay. When you think of the Cleveland Guardians and, you think of AL Central teams in general, you think, who could possibly grab a wild card in there if they don't win the division? And I don't think anybody has the power to grab a wild card because the AL is so stacked in the East and the West. I just don't think that the AL Central team has a chance to make the playoffs unless it wins the division. And do I think the Indians can win the Guardians can win the division? I don't. I don't think they can. I'm going to put them in competitive. I think they're going to be a decent team. I know they just traded away whatever the hell that guy's name was, Eli Morgan or the other guy, Cal Quantrill, I think that's who it was. They traded him to the Rockies. I liked him as a pitcher, so the fact they just got rid of him so quick was just kind of weird to me. I mean, he hasn't been great lately, but maybe they know something we don't know. I just, obviously Jose Ramirez is going to be good. Shane Bieber is going to be good. Manuel Clase is the top closer in the league. Josh Naylor is good. They've got good pieces on this team, but to make the wild card, make the playoffs in general in the AL Central, you have to win the division. I don't think they're ready for that. I think they might get second or third place, but they're not ready yet. Rockies, they're trash. They suck. Why the hell they give Chris Bryant all that money? No one will ever know. It's the most fucking confusing move ever. Ever, probably. I just don't even understand why they would give that guy. Like, they never pay anybody. Like, they paid Arenado. They just tricked everyone. They just traded him away. Like, are they going to do the same thing with Chris Bryant? They can't, because it's fucking, like, he hasn't been good enough. He's not worth anything. They paid him all that money for nothing. They've got some good players on that team. Now they got Cal Quantrill. I don't think he's going to do that well in Colorado. Pitchers usually don't unless they, are really good sinker ballers, like Daniel Bard. He had success there. Yerman Marquez, Ubaldo Jimenez, guys who've had success there. Sinker ballers. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be good. Tigers, team that's up and coming, I would say, in the AL Central. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Definitely not. I think there's another team in the AL Central that's going to probably run away with that division. Are they going to be competitive, though, or are they going to be trash? Obviously, with Javi Baez not opting out, which is, the smart move for him because he's getting paid to be shit. I just think, like, Torkelson's obviously good. They get their starters back. Tariq Skubal, he's still good. He's a good guy in that rotation to have. Alex Lang, he's decent in the bullpen. I believe he's their closer. Like, they're okay. Are they going to be competitive, though? I don't think so. I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money this free agency either. Nah, I don't think they're going to be competitive. I think the Guardians are going to be better than they are. They're probably going to finish third or fourth. Probably wherever behind the Guardians would be. Royals, okay. So, they're immediately going to go in the trash. I think a lot of people don't realize that everyone shits on the Oakland Athletics, but the Royals were the worst team in baseball, and, like, by a pretty wide margin, too. Like, and they have players that are exciting, like, obviously Bobby Witt Jr., he's the top player in the league. But, who else? Brady Singer, he has not been great lately. They just had some guys that, started to break out and then, like, took a huge step back this year. Bobby Witt had a huge step forward, though. They're obviously going to try to build a team around him. I don't think they're ready yet, though. They just don't have enough guys. Like, Salvador Perez, he's old now. He can still produce, but he's old. He's not going to be able to carry that team. Yeah, I don't think they're going to make anything happen, really. They're probably going to be the worst team in baseball, maybe, next year. The Milwaukee Brewers is a really interesting one. Because they've made some, like, puzzling moves. Like, even though it is the right move if you think about it. Like, when they non-tendered Brandon Woodruff, everyone was like, what the fuck are they doing? But, when you find out that he was hurt and his contract was going to run out, it was the right decision just to get someone else to, like, take him from him. So they're not out as much. Like, they're not going to do anything with him because he's going to be hurt. But with him gone, they traded Hader away a couple years ago. They traded Canna away recently, too. It's hard to say, like, whether they want to be competitive or not. Like, in Craig Counsell, obviously, he was a really good manager on that team. He got poached by the Cubs. And, like, a lot of Brewers fans were saying they don't love the new manager they have. They say he's a little bit old school, is what I've heard. I think they're going to take a step back. I still think they're going to be competitive. I don't think they're going to win the division, though. And do I think they could win the wild card? Maybe. But we'll see where everything shakes out at the end. But maybe they could win the wild card. Or get the wild card. We'll see. Angels were all the best players go to, but never get anywhere. Shohei's gone. Mike Trout might be on his way out, getting traded. Anthony Rendon might never play again. He's just going to sit and pout on the bench. The rotation's still bad. Bullpen can be fine at times. The lineup used to be decent, but, it's a lot better on paper than we actually see what they're throwing out there every day. I don't think they're going to be competitive. I think it's going to be another year where it's mediocre. They're going to lose Shohei. There's no way they're signing him back. I don't think they're going to get anybody of that caliber to replace him. I think they're going to try to sell high on Trout, even though he had another injury-riddled year. I think they're probably, they might get fourth place in that division. I think that's very possible. Oakland. Yep, they're trash. A lot of trash teams all in a row. Oakland is bad. They got some. Their best player last year was Brent Rooker, and you have a fucking problem when that's his best player on your team. Like, he had a decent year overall, but if he's your best player, you're not going anywhere. The rotation is really bad. They've got some young, exciting guys like Zach Geloff is good. Like I said, Brent Rooker's fine. That guy at first base, I forget his name, but he has a really good on-base percentage. He's got a really good eye. Probably should have been an all-star. Shea Langoliers is fine behind the plate. But even when players get good, they're going to trade them away anyway. So maybe when they move to Vegas, they'll actually figure some shit out. But obviously, there's a lot of shit going on with Oakland Athletics. And with that shit, there's no way they can field a competitive team. So they're still going to be bad. They're probably going to finish in fifth place in the AL East or the AL West. And that, I don't think there's anything they can do to not finish that low. The Phillies. Phillies are definitely not going to win the NL East. So they're not going to be division winners. Division winners of World Series contenders is kind of like, I think the Orioles could be World Series contenders, maybe. All right, well, let's just call this playoffs. Like, I'm pretty sure they're going to get in playoffs. Okay, we're gonna do it like that. Phillies, I think they are going to be a wild card team. I think they're definitely good. They're not good enough to beat the Braves out for the division, but they're good. They gave the Braves the business a couple years ago, and they gave the business this year too. I just, in the regular season, 162 games, the Braves are going to pull out a lot more wins than they are, just because they're a lot more well-rounded. When they signed Aaron Nola back, the Phillies did. It was a great move for them. He would have been a big help to a lot of other teams. You can't let him go to another National League team and give them value when he was giving you so much value. And he's a guy who, got a start in Philly. He was really good for you for a lot of years. It's a good signing for them. They still got Bryce Harper. They're a good team. They're a good team. They're not going to win the division, but they're a good team. They can definitely make a run. They won the World Series just a couple years ago. They're built for the playoffs because they had those three starters. You got Nola, you got Zach Wheeler, and those guys are nasty. You can throw Ranger Suarez up there. He's had a lot of postseason success. They're built for the playoffs, and they're a good team. And I think they're going to try to snag a wild card again, probably wild card spot 1, just like they did this year. And they're probably going to make a run. The Pirates. They have good players on that team. Okay, Brian Hayes is good. O'Neal Cruz is good. But, I don't think they're going to really make some noise. It was weird how they weren't even that far off of a playoff spot last year. If you look at it, they were only like 7 games back or something like that. It wasn't really like incredibly far back, something like that. But that, with the new wild card system, with there being 3 wild cards, it makes it a lot easier for your team to have hope to making the playoffs. And I like that personally. So I wouldn't be super surprised, if they ended up getting hot like the Reds did last year. But for right now, I think they're trash. I don't think they're going to sign anybody amazing. And I think they're probably going to still be bottom dwellers for now. Are they going to finish 5th in that NL Central? Maybe. I think they might do better than the Cardinals. Probably be 4th, be my guess. The Padres. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ha-Seong Kim, Jake Cronenworth. A lot of good players on this team. That's what they do, is they build great teams, but, it's on a lot of star power. The rotation was fine. Yu Darvish is still good. But are they going to take the NL West? I I don't think so. They were supposed to be a lot better than they were last year, and they just did not finish off. They ended pretty hot, but they were really bad for a lot of last year. I think they could be a wild card team. That's what I think. I think they could definitely make a wild card, and maybe they can make a run. I know they made a run a couple years ago. They could probably make something happen. They're gonna have to sign some people though. Rotation's looking a little bit weak. They could probably use a couple guys there. Lineup's still nasty. Fernando Tatis Jr. had a little bit of a down year offensively. Defensively, he was very good though. He won the Platinum Glove, I'm pretty sure. If he starts to heat up like he did, in 2019, wherever it was, where he hit 40 plus bombs, and he was high in MVP voting, I think that they're going to be a lot better for it. Because with him and Machado and Ha-Seong Kim and all those guys who could, the big hitters in that lineup, if they're all producing, and they get a couple starters maybe to help Yu Darvish and the other guys out, I think they could make something happen. I don't think they're going to win the NL West though, but they might. They just might, but I don't think they are. The Rangers, team that I don't, some people called them winning the World Series this year. I didn't believe it personally. Especially with DeGrom being hurt, they gave him all that money. I figured he was going to have to put up a lot of quality innings for them to really have that playoff rotation. And if you saw them in their playoff run, Jordan Montgomery was, he was a guy they needed. If they didn't have Jordan Montgomery, they probably wouldn't have made it as far as they did. Because you need at least two reliable starters for the playoffs to really make stuff happen. Nathan Eovaldi was good. And then you had Jordan Montgomery, and they did exactly what they needed to do, which was make the games competitive. So when the bullpen fucks it up, it's not so bad because the offense is obviously nasty. Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, probably one of the best hitters in the league. He gives Jordan a run for his money and Shohei a run for his money. He's great. Adolis Garcia is still nasty. Bullpen, a lot of question marks. Josh Sborz is really good. Doesn't get a whole lot of credit on there because usually people think about Leclerc and they were talking about Chapman. He was really good. I think, are they going to win the division? I don't think so. I think the Astros still win the division. I do think the Rangers are going to make the playoffs and they're going to be in a nice playoff spot. For playoffs, why don't we just put this is where wild cards 1 spots and division winners is going to be. So I'll put the Phillies up here too. These are the teams I'm almost positive they're going to make it in the playoffs and don't have that much of a chance to get kicked out of the wild cards. So we'll split it up that way. Yeah, the Rangers, good team, won the World Series. Will they win back-to-back? I believe that hasn't been done since the 1999-2000 Yankees. Be cool to see. Rangers fans obviously have been suffering for a while, back-to-back World Series, one of them very heartbreaking for them. But they're going to need, more reliable starters. They got to sign Jordan Montgomery back. They got to get another starter. They got to get a couple bullpen guys. And then maybe they can even win the AL West. But as of right now, I think the Astros are still a team to beat. Red Sox. That's a strange team. This is a team I didn't really think about much last year because they were in and out of a playoff spot, that final wild card. Ended up not making the playoffs. Masataka Yoshida, obviously, he's really good. He cooled off a little bit, but he had some really monster months and weeks during the season. He's legit. Bobby Dahlbeck, he can make stuff happen. Tristan Casas, he was in the Rookie of the Year voting because he was really good. Rotation, don't know where Chris Sale went. I don't know if he's still alive. I really don't know. Feels like he hasn't pitched in 3 years. Maybe even longer than that. I'm trying to think who even is in their rotation right now. I can't even think of a single guy who's in their rotation. They need rotation help. Let's just put it that way. Their bullpen is fine. Lineup can be good. I think they're going to be competitive. I think they are. I think, the Red Sox are a very storied franchise. I think they're going to get some guys. I think some guys are going to step up. I think they could make a run a wild card. But I'm just going to put them as competitive right now. The Giants. A team people think is in the running for getting Shohei. The Giants. Makes sense. All those West Coast teams, usually that's where a lot of Japanese players like to go because it's a little bit closer to home. If they were in the Midwest or something like that, it'd be a little bit harder to get home. a little bit longer of a flight. But with the Giants, obviously the thing with them was for so long is they're an aging roster. With their dynasty from like 2010 to like 2016, where they were fielding a lot of really competitive teams. They, had a lot of good players that were just getting older as it went on. They had that same core for all those years, and they're starting to turn over a new leaf now. They got Logan Webb as their ace, and he's really good. And I think I think they could be competitive. I do think that. I think they're going to spend this offseason. I think they're going to get some more players for that lineup. Wilmer Flores obviously stepped up in a big way for them this year. You can't really trust that, though. I mean, he's had some decent years in the past, but obviously this is like the best year of his career. And he's only getting older. I don't know if I trust him to put up that kind of production again. Other than that, their lineup is kind of meh. Rotation is fine. Bullpen is fine. Camilo Doval, he's really good in the bullpen. I think they could be competitive. Maybe they take a wild card spot. The Dodgers, it feels like we're starting to see the end of the Dodgers' reign of terror in the National League, but even when you say that, they always manage to shut you up by bringing up new guys out of the system who just ball out, and they could probably do that again. But obviously their problem is the rotation. They had Lance Lynn going out against the Diamondbacks, and he got shelled. You can't have that guy starting with how bad he's been. They need starters, and they need them bad. If they get a couple starters, which I think they will, they'll probably get at least one or two serviceable guys. I think they could probably win the NL West. I think they will, because you never count out the Dodgers. Obviously the Diamondbacks won the didn't win the World Series. They went to the World Series. They won the National League this year. But even then, they're a good team. It felt kind of fluky though, and I feel bad saying that, but it did. I think the Dodgers win again. I think they win the division. Are they World Series contenders? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they're too far behind. Obviously Freeman is fantastic. Mookie Betts is great. Max Muncy, he can really heat up. Will Smith is really good behind the plate. Evan Phillips is really good in that bullpen. If they keep having Kershaw pitch 150 or so innings for them, that's going to be really nice for them. They got a lot of young pitchers coming up. I think if they get some more pitching, they'll be fine. I think they'll win the division. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll beat out the Diamondbacks. Even though the Diamondbacks didn't win the division, they barely won that wild card. I think they only won like 83 games this year. But I think the Dodgers are going to be competitive. They maybe could make a run at the World Series. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think it's really in them, personally. And going to the Diamondbacks, the National League champions, felt kind of fluky. They're really good, obviously. They got a lot of young talent. Gabriel Moreno's crazy. That Brandon Pfaadt, he really started to show, what that top prospect was in him. He was really bad in the regular season. He had some decent starts, and then the playoffs, he really started to turn it on. He shut the Phillies down in that NLCS. Ketel Marte, obviously, he's really good. Corbin Carroll, he's amazing. They have a really good young core. I think they're going to be in for a wild card spot again. I think they're going to get better this year. I really do. I don't think they're going to be better than the Dodgers, and maybe not even better than the Padres. I think maybe they could sneak into a second wild card spot, maybe third. But, are the Padres better than Diamondbacks? Probably not, I would say. Just, what we saw last year with how, the Padres just weren't really meshing very well. It wouldn't surprise me if the Padres, blew Arizona out of the water. Arizona finished third. They didn't even make the playoffs. But I think Arizona might be a little bit better than San Diego. I think they both could make the wild card, though. The New York Mets. Another team I don't really think about. They gave all that money to Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, traded them both away. Rotation needs help. Obviously, when you sign two huge guys like that for so much money and you let them go, there's going to be a problem in that rotation. There's going to be holes, and they have a lot of holes in that rotation. Brandon Nimmo is really good on that team. Francisco Lindor, he's really good on that team. They got a lot of good players, but they need a lot. And they're obviously going to go out and spend money. I believe they have the richest owner in MLB. with Steve Cohen, and they're going to spend money, and they're going to be better. They're probably going to go the Rangers' way and just try to keep spending money until it works. And I don't think it'll work this year. I don't think it will. I think they're going to be competitive. Kodai Senga's really good. Brandon Nimmo's really good. Francisco Lindor's really good. I don't know if they put it all together. Baseball's a team sport. You need a lot of guys producing. I don't think we're going to have enough guys on the pitching side. White Sox. They're going to be bad. They are just going to be bad. Their culture is completely screwed up. Luis Robert, he's the only player on that team I'd say was like really good. A lot of guys who were and a lot of guys who were bad. They trade Jake Berger away. The rotation, was hurting really bad. Dylan Cease got knocked around a bit. After having such a good year, everyone thought the White Sox were really going to turn over a new leaf and just start to be really competitive, and they just, fell off the cliff. And I think they're going to continue that. I think they might finish towards the bottom of that division. Maybe fourth would be my guess. The Twins. I think the Twins win the division. I think they make the playoffs. I think they're better than people give them credit for. Usually when people think about the AL Central, they're like, it's just, it's just a bunch of guys, a bunch of teams that don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Whoever wins is going to be like 83 wins or something like that. We just saw an 83-win team make to the World Series, so that's first. And then also, Twins are good. Edward Julian is good. Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, they're good in that rotation. Byron Buxton, if he could ever stay healthy, he's going to be good. He could even be an MVP candidate if he really stayed healthy. Carlos Correa, he had such a bad year offensively this year. If he turns that around and starts to become the player he was in Houston, that's huge for them. If Edward Julian could play a full year and put that same production up that he was putting up, that's going to be huge for them. Max Kepler, he's still good. I don't even know if he's a free agent or not. It feels like he's been on there forever. Maybe he could be. But, he's still good. Jorge Polanco, if he's still on that team, he's still good. I'm trying to think of who even is still left on that team. But I think they're going to be good. Joan Duran as their closer, he's probably got the nastiest stuff in the MLB. You ever see him pitch? He's disgusting. It's like him and Felix Bautista are like the guys in the bullpen you'd want. I think they're going to win that division. I think they might make a run. They finally got that playoff win out of the way they needed. They even won a series. So I think they're going to ride that momentum, and they're going to make something happen. The Cubs. I think this just might be the Cubs' year to win the division. They've been trending upwards, even though they had such a horrible collapse in the end of the season, and it was just painful to watch those games. The Diamondbacks really just took them to fucking work, and that's, 7 games in a couple weeks or something like that, where they just took them to town. I think the Cubs only won one of those games. And, they just deflated from there. And, they just, they were in a playoff spot until the very end of the year. And, the second to last game of the season was when they were finally, eliminated fully. The Marlins and the Diamondbacks got those spots. And, I think they're going to remember that. And I think they're going to sign somebody big. And I think they're going to take that step up. Seiya Suzuki had a great year. Dansby was good. Very good defensively. Offensively, he was okay. Nico Horner, he's still really good. Ian Happ's going to produce. They could be really in the running to getting Shohei Ohtani. And if they do, I think it's definitely going to be them in that division because everyone else is kind of taking a step back, except for the Reds, who've been, better as of late. I think they win the division. I think maybe they can make something happen in the NL. There's a lot of scary teams in the NL, but it could be their year. Washington Nationals. Yeah, they're still going to be trash. I mean, good players on that team. Keeper Ruiz is good. Lane Thomas had a good year last year, had a really good year. Probably should have been an all-star. Josiah Gray, he's a good starting pitcher. Mackenzie Gore, he'll figure it out. There's just young guys trying to prove it right now, and, they still got to prove it. They haven't proven much yet. Some guys have. C.J. Abrams had a really good year. But they have more to prove. NL East is a tough division to play in. The Braves are going to play you a lot. The Phillies are going to play you a lot. And, that's going to take a lot of wins away from you. I don't think it's their time yet, but it's going to be a growing year from them. It's probably going to be a lot of competitive games, but I don't think there's really in danger of taking anybody's wild card spot. The Reds. Reds were in a playoff spot last year for a long time, along with the Cubs. And a lot of people were really surprised by that. You know, a lot of players were all hitting at the same time, all pitching at the same time, making it happen. You know, Hunter Green is really good on that team. You know, Ellie De La Cruz, you know, he's a spark plug. He can make stuff happen. You know, Spencer Steer was really good. Matt McClain was really good. You know, they're good. They're young. They're good. They're fun. Had a lot of guys produce last year. You would have expected to have such good years like McClain. And they could maybe sneak into a wild card spot. I wouldn't be super surprised. I think they're just going to be competitive, though. But with that being the last team, we have to figure out who all the playoff spots are going to be going to. Okay. Houston is going to win the AL West. Braves are going to win the NL East. AL East is going to go to the Orioles. I think the Rangers are going to take that wild card spot. I think the Phillies are going to take a wild card spot. I think the Dodgers are going to take one. I think the Cubs are going to win the division. Actually, no, I think the Dodgers are going to win the division. So let's pick out all the division winners. Braves, Dodgers, and then Cubs. And then 3 wild cards for the NL. Got San Diego, Arizona, and then we need one more. And then for the AL, got Houston's going to win the AL West. I got the Orioles in the AL East. I got the Twins in the AL Central. And then wild card. Okay, so we need one more National League team. Who's going to get over the hump? Don't think it's going to be Miami. I think Milwaukee takes a big step back. Giants, I don't think so. Mets, Reds. If the Mets start spending money, like I know they will, they might just make it happen. So, put the Mets in there. Alright. Well, come back to this video when all of this is 100% predicted right. World Series contenders, I really only got 2 up there. Let's think, is there anybody else who really can make a run? Obviously, the Rangers already did, and they won the whole thing. I think the Phillies could make a run. I think the Rangers could make another run. It's a well-built team. The Rangers, they're built for the playoffs as long as they get a couple more starters. Phillies built for the playoffs. Braves, just amazing all around. Same with the Astros. Okay. I think that's what we're looking like. I don't think there's any teams that are really coming out to me being like, I'm an idiot. I'm trying to think if there's anything really controversial. I said Cubs winning the division, that's kind of controversial. I don't know if anyone thinks that they're really there yet. They can be, though, if they sign a couple guys. Same with the Twins, but obviously they're going to win the AL Central. I don't think that's really up for debate. I think they're definitely the best team in that division. Rangers running it back, that might be something not a lot of people would agree with because, that year felt pretty magical and they're really, facing the Astros. It was really rough for a long time for them. But they did kind of steamroll everybody else they met in those playoffs. Mets making the wild card, I think it could happen. Padres, I think, are going to be a lot better than they were. I think the Diamondbacks, they're going to ride that magic and they're going to make something happen. Rays, I think the Yankees will take a step forward, even though they're an aging roster. I think they're going to sign some guys. Even though I think Brian Cashman on the Yankees, he was like saying that I love this group. I think we're just fine the way we are. And he's an idiot if he thinks that. But I think he's just blowing smoke. I think they're going to be fine. I think they might make a wild card spot. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if the Mariners or the Blue Jays got that spot instead. Maybe even the Red Sox. All right, well, there we go. I'm 100% a baseball master. I did no research before this. This is all just what's off my head. And if I said everything that's wrong, then delete that article because I was right.